Hi, I'm Yvonne Wilcox and I'm here with Russ Elliott, CEO of Siskiyou Telephone, and he's here to tell us about the big announcement for Siskiyou County and California. But first, could you just tell us a little bit of background on Siskiyou Telephone?
You bet. Thanks, Yvonne. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Big announcement, but let me start with a little bit of background on Siskiyou Telephone so you can kind of understand the magnitude of this announcement that we're going to be talking about. Siskiyou Telephone serves all of western Siskiyou County. So if you look at our map here, and I'm just going to see if I can get my pointer going. It's not working. Anyway, if you look at our map here, this is western Siskiyou County. So this over here is Yreka, and that's the I-5 corridor down there. This is up toward the Oregon border, and this comes out west. We're up over Happy Camp in that region up there. We come down here all the way down to Somes and by Orleans. We come down into some unfiled territory that we serve down here called Cecilville, and some of this rural remote area down here. We go back out this way a little bit. We come back out around Callahan. We come up through Etna. You got Fort Jones, and then obviously we're back into up by Yreka. So all of this orange outline right here is Siskiyou Telephone serving territory. What's extremely unique about that is that's about 2,400 square miles that we have the obligation to serve and take care of our customers in this area. That's about the size of Delaware and a half. When you put that into perspective, the population of Delaware is about 1 million. The population of this Delaware and a half shape is about 8,000 people and about 4,000 homes. And we have the obligation to make certain everybody here has communications infrastructure. And our commitment has always been to try to get the most robust infrastructure out as far as we can and as quickly as we can. And this company has been doing a very good job prior to my being here. I've only been here a couple of years, but prior to my being here, the fiber infrastructure was being laid, and it was down in a significant portion of our serving territory. Most of you in our serving territory already have fiber infrastructure. We've served almost 70% of our obligated serving territory with fiber to the home, which gives you that future-proof scalable infrastructure. And what's critical about that, in my opinion, is that fiber offers us an infrastructure that right now has no known capacity. So we don't know what it can carry. At this point in time, fiber is only constrained by the electronics that we put on each side of the piece of fiber. So everything we're laying down here is future-proof and for future generations. In the past, I think a lot of the telephone infrastructure has been laid with money that at the end of the funding, the infrastructure is no longer viable. That's not going to be the case with fiber. Fiber is going to allow us to continue to give future generations service on this existing infrastructure for this one-time investment. So we're excited about that. And with that comes the big Infrastructure Investment Act we've all heard about here on the federal side. And we're excited that Siskiyou Telephone is going to be a recipient of that federal money. And so we'll talk a little bit about that project, and that's kind of our big announcement today.
So you had said to me earlier that one of the biggest constraints that you have to building out this area is funding, and you have gone for funding in the past. So if you could just tell us what it's like to where the funding comes from, and then what this actually funding is that you just received.
You bet. So we're only constrained by the amount of money we can receive to get this done. As you can imagine, building in this area, the green is all Forest Service. So you can imagine trying to build through Forest Service territory. We've got state highway, we've got Caltrans coming through here all the way down and around. So these are all challenging environments for us to build in. We've got granite, we've got mountains, we've got big trees, we've got skinny roads through Sawyers and Forks of the Salmon, right? One lane roads down there. And so the challenge has always been funding, because we are the most expensive region in the state of California to build to. And so as a result, and that comes from the fact that we're digging through granite, we're having to go through some deep rural areas to get to a few people. But that doesn't stop us. The only thing that has stopped us is the funding, the access to funding. So when the infrastructure money came up, we got excited. We said, okay, let's go chase some of these funds. Been a couple of grants out there that we've went after. We haven't been successful in the grant market so far. And so when this middle mile infrastructure came up with the state of California, we were one of the first companies that went down there and said, we'd talk with you about that. Because what Middle Mile does for us is it allows us to get infrastructure out into the reaches and allows us to reach last mile customers, which are the homes, a lot more reasonably. It takes away some of that big expense. You can imagine, if you know our serving territory, if you had to build up over Etna Mountain and Etna Summit, and you had to go down through Sawyers, you know how much that's going to cost. That's going to be an expensive, and we've only got 4 or 5 homes down here. Down by Grants Bluffs, we got a few homes down there. But as we're building through that area with the state middle mile, and the state middle mile is here to try to achieve resiliency across the state, so networks have the capability of have redundant pathways in and out. So what the intent of this middle mile is to take the I-5 corridor, which is over here where Yreka is, and run it on through Soames and on out through Yreka and out onto the west coast, which will then allow for the state to have redundant pathways, allows for our company to have redundancy, because at this point in time, our company is single path out to the internet, which is over towards Yreka. This gives us that multiple redundancy. So the big news is we partnered with the state. The state agreed. It's a good project. We've got some tribal regions that this will also help build up some infrastructure for those folks. It's a $52 million project. We've got a build project with them to build a state middle mile network that will go from Happy Camp on Highway 96 up over Oak Knoll. This is an area that we have had challenges with because it's a very expensive area to get to. We will then take that network up Oak Knoll. We'll come up over Trees of Heaven. We'll drop down into Yreka. This will pick up a lot of folks that have not ever had the capability of having service in our serving territory. We're excited about that. This will take us into Yreka. It'll bring a redundant path into Yreka because currently we're coming up a different route into Yreka. We'll come through Yreka. We'll go up over Highway 3. What's exciting about that for me, and I think for a lot of the folks in this community, is this has been a communications desert, especially over Highway 3. As you come up over Forest Mountain, we've had some recent incidents there that were critical incidents that needed communications and needed communications immediately. This will allow us to start to talk about what we can do to implement better communications over that hill in the event that we have need for emergency services or other communications needs. We're committed to try to figure something out over Forest Mountain. So we'll come up over Forest Mountain. It'll drop us down into the Valley of Fort Jones. Many of the folks that are serving territory right now east of Fort Jones, they've been in a bit of a communications desert. This infrastructure will allow us to get there faster, sooner, and more affordably. So those folks that have been patient for us out there out here in the past McAdams Creek in that area, Moffett Creek, thank you for your patience. We look forward to getting to you here a lot quicker. We're going to come through Fort Jones. We're going to come through here, the Greenview area. We've got some need to upgrade some infrastructure there, make certain all these folks get hooked up. We'll get that infrastructure out. We'll get that last mile stuff done while we're doing the middle mile. We'll come down through Fort Jones, go up to Etna. We'll come through Etna, and then we're going to go up over Etna Summit. Another place Office of Emergency Management has said on a number of occasions, we just don't have any communications infrastructure up there in the event of an emergency. This will allow us to bring some new communications infrastructure up there, get creative on how we get folks connected if there's a need for an emergency. We've got the PCT up there. Those folks will have potentially a way to communicate as well. So we'll be bringing infrastructure over there, down through Sawyers, down through Forks, around the bluffs down here, which is this is a challenging area right here, and bringing it on into Soames Bar, and then on down to Orleans, where we'll terminate in Orleans and meet with the network that's coming from the west. So we're excited about that opportunity. What that will do is there's a lot of people, and we have built a little bit of fiber through here. Where you see the red lines, we actually have some fiber already laid in the ground there. Where you see that, but it's fiber islands. We've kind of built it with the anticipation that one day we'll get there. Well, what's the state middle mile network is going to do? It's going to get us there a lot sooner than we ever could have. And as a result, the folks in these areas will now have the capability of accessing this future-proof infrastructure way sooner than they ever would have, or even if they ever could, based on the fact that we didn't have the capability or the funding, or that would ever be in a model for folks to explore. So that's kind of a summary of it. It's an exciting project for us. It also brings one other thought that I had as I was talking. We talked about communications infrastructure, especially emergency management infrastructure. I was also talking to some folks along 96 up here, and we've had some river incidences on the Klamath that people have struggled to have any kind of communications infrastructure in the case of emergency up there. We'll be certain to make certain we address that as well as we go through that area.
So for a long time, you've been a big proponent of public and private partnerships, and you said this is quite a unique public-private partnership. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a challenge when you start talking about private industry navigating public policy and public processes. And my past has been on the policy side a little bit recently, and I realized how important it was to have private industry to communicate with the public side so that you can get these things done, get them done a heck of a lot cheaper than if you were just going at it from the state side or from the federal side. Our infrastructure is already in the ground. Much of this network that I've just described, we have existing infrastructure. So the win here is the state will get its own middle mile infrastructure through our territory at a fraction of the cost they would have had to pay if they went to do it themselves. So they have a win. And our win is we're going to build out in areas that otherwise we weren't going to get to, if ever, even soon, right? So this is a win-win. It's public-private. We feel comfortable in this environment because this is the nature of the phone company. You know, we are a company that is dependent upon some of those subsidies that come from the federal government and the state government. So we can navigate that. We can sustain this, which is also an interesting concept that you build this kind of infrastructure out here in the middle of nowhere. We're already running trucks. We've already got the infrastructure out here to keep this alive. So this is a tremendous opportunity for the private sector to come in and really support the public side. And in the end, it's going to be a win for us because we'll have extra pathways in and out, and we'll have redundancy and resiliency to our network.
You said that this is going to expedite the timeline. Can you give us some years and dates around that timeline?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, one of the things that comes with the money, hey, if you want the money, you're going to have to abide by our obligations, and their obligations are that we have to have the middle mile infrastructure done within 3 years. So that's a heavy lift. With that also comes some federal opportunities for funding that might force us to expedite last mile delivery, which is to the home. And that could be within the next 6 years that we have to have everybody built out. So we have some really intense looming deadlines around the obligation for these funds. First and foremost, the middle mile, we have to get that done. It's got to be done in 3 years. A caveat here too is we've put in a proposal based on estimates that we've made. We have some time to get the engineering done to ensure and make certain that our proposals will meet the obligations financially that we have estimated this to be. At a point in time here in the next 6 months, we will review that with the state. And if at that point in time we say, oh gosh, there's some costs that we didn't anticipate based on significant granite, but you know, we've done a lot of this. We've built through most of this. So we think we've got it covered, and then we think we're going to be able to do it. But we do have, you know, that last 6 months, in 6 months we have that opportunity to review this to make certain it's going to work for everybody.
And you mentioned that it's going to go past some tribal networks. What is the impact and meaning for tribes?
You bet. So we've got our friends up at the Karuk tribe. They're up here through Happy Camp and down in Somes and especially throughout this area. We've got our friends in the Quartz Valley. This allows these networks to connect. They've got major administrative offices and whatnot in Yreka. They've got administrative offices in Happy Camp, and they've got administrative offices in Orleans. This will allow that to be hooked up contiguously, and it'll allow for a nice network access for the tribal folks, as well as the opportunity for them to interconnect with other tribes. You know, I believe the project coming from the west is bringing there's a big Hoopa project that's coming up from the west. I think they're going to try to interconnect there in Orleans, and so that will be the win for everybody on the tribal side. And
so you said that perhaps in September you'll have a big event or announcement, everyone coming together.
Yeah, I would, because this is a pretty significant investment in Siskiyou County, which that was kind of our hope, that we would start to see some of that infrastructure money. Since I got here, I've been meeting with the county assembly, the assembly, the Senate, and our county officials. The Board of Supervisors. Thank you. I always forget. There are county commissioners everywhere else in the world, but here they're the Board of Supervisors. And all I've talked about for the last 2 years is we got to make certain Siskiyou County gets its fair share of these funds. I'm not going to talk about whether the funds are right or wrong. What I'm going to say is that ship has sailed, and Siskiyou County needed to be in line to get some of these. And I'm excited to say that Siskiyou Telephone and Siskiyou County will be partnering with the state to take advantage of some of those funds, and we're going to be doing that here relatively soon. And as a result, I'd love to get a kickoff event where we have our county officials here, we have some of our state officials here, and we'll do that probably in the next month and a half, and try to schedule something where everybody can come out here and celebrate, and including our customers and folks in the area.
So it's very exciting, and there's so much information. So there's a web page that is siskiyoutelephone.com/Middle-Mile Project, and that has a little bit about what you've said here and some more of the hardcore details. So I'm so excited for you and for Siskiyou Telephone, and if you want to just wrap it up for us.
Oh,
here.
no, we're excited too, and this is a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for us, but it's also a great opportunity for our customers, and that's been my purpose, is to continue to try to grow this infrastructure and get it to you as quickly as possible, and that's one of the opportunities that this will provide us, that will get expedited connectivity out to everybody. So excited about it. Thank you so much for allowing me to take this time to share with you. Go to that website, look at the Middle Mile infrastructure link in there, and in there there'll be a Q&A, a bunch of drop downs in there. And if you've got any other questions or concerns, always please call us here. We'd love to hear from you guys. So thank you very much for allowing us this time today.